Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bright Founders Talk at Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. Welcome to our podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring stories of entrepreneurs and experts in the software development industry. And each week, we interview successful leaders who share their unique journeys and valuable insights. I'm your host, Barry. And today we're lucky enough to have an amazing guest joining us, Hugo Meana, who is co-founder of doctorSIM. Hello, Hugo. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Barry. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing today?
Excellent. Enjoying the summer here in Spain.
Well, at least one of us has one. So thank you so much for taking time to speak with us today. Really appreciate it. Before we begin, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and the company you work at?
Sure. So my name is Hugo Meana. I'm the co-founder and CEO of doctorSIM. It's a company we started, my sister and a friend started about 17, 18 years ago. It's a long time. Basically, we decided to focus on mobile-related products. So, ever since I was, a student at school or university, always tingling and playing around with all kinds of mobile devices and trying to figure the best way to actually get a maximum amount of these products. And back in 2006, I think we saw there was an opportunity there to actually make the user experience for people trying to switch plans from one carrier to another a lot easier than it currently was. So I was just, I think, finishing another startup I had been working for, and I decided to give it a shot, and we decided to come up with a model that would help us encourage people and recommend people a best plan for their mobile phone configuration at that time. And basically that was the first venture into the doctorSIM history. It's been a company that has been around now for 17 years, and we've pivoted pretty much every 4 or 5 years. So there's been a lot there to unpack as the years and the market has changed.
So you were interested in mobile phones from the very beginning. Was entrepreneurship something that was always in your blood, or did you just kind of fall into it?
Yes. Right out of, I went to British school, and entrepreneurship was heavily fostered there. Even though a lot of people were going to business school and more traditional jobs. I graduated from university in the States right before the dot-com boom and right before the Y2K bug mania. So I went into consulting for a while and realized that wasn't for me after about 6 months, 7 months trying to fix zeros and ones and nines in all these programs to make sure they didn't crash with that infamous date. I decided to scratch my itch, and I went straight for I want to start something that can actually provide some sort of value. And I started my first company in I think it was 1999, basically out of pure ignorance, because at that time, very young and naive, thought you could start a company in a couple of days and build it and they will come. It wasn't the case, but it was the first of many ventures that started. And once that bug bites you, it's hard to get off the entrepreneurship train.
And was your sister a natural fit? Was that something that you kind of planned and thought, oh yeah, this would be a natural fit for my entrepreneurial endeavor?
It was a natural fit, actually. My good friend Alberto and my sister Lydia, they were both involved at the very early beginning of doctorSIM. And from the beginning, especially with my sister, I saw that it had the good things and bad things. The good things about working with your sister is that we have a lot in common and we got along greatly. The bad thing is that we have a lot in common and we don't tend to disagree that much. So actually, it does have its downsides, but the positives are always much better than the negatives in that sense. And we usually tend to complement each other in many of the things, but on a day-to-day business-wise scenario, we have divided our areas so that we don't step on each other's toes only when it's strictly necessary.
I was going to say, do you like to deliver and divide the skill sets, or do you wear a lot of hats? Do you specialize?
Well, one of the common themes with the companies that I started or that I've worked with is that we like to keep small teams, and we do stretch people out as much as we can. In our case, doctorSIM has been a 20-person company at some points in life, down to 6 people. Now we're 12. So we tend to have small teams. And I try to focus more on technology, business, the strategic side of things, and my sister more on the operations, finance. So it's good. It's a good fit in it, and I'm lucky that was actually our initial set of skills that we could use and complement each other. So no clashing there of any sort, which is good after so many years.
And do you have any other networking that you did before you actually started being an entrepreneur?
When I started, I think this was the year 2000, and the dot-com boom was happening at the time. So there was a big craze at that point. Everybody was walking around with a business plan under their arm or an NDA, and everybody wanted to talk about this. But not that many people put their money where their mouth was, and not that many things got started. So networking was limited at that point in terms of going out there and finding capital. But in terms of helping us out initially, we did, we did try the different venues, such as, maybe some events, some corporate, pretty much events. None of them really hit the note or helped us get where we wanted to. Most of the work was a lot of getting down to just, developing the product, going out there, getting your first customers, making sure things started to roll. And then the networking did play a good part in terms of helping out when you needed, some specific contacts for some things you wanted to try out. But it's always been like a secondary thing rather than the actual reason why things would take off in the first place.
So I have the fortune of knowing a lot about your company and its history. Could you just talk to us a little bit about pivoting?
Even though the company's 16 or 17 years old, I could say that we've started 4 or 5 different companies over the past 16 or 17 years. When we started back in 2006, Amazon Web Services didn't exist. Most of the stuff we had to do was manual. I do remember our first business idea was helping people switch mobile operators. We had developed kind of an algorithm that would analyze every invoice you'd received from your operator, and would recommend other operators you could switch to. And even though from the outside it looked like this was something that ChatGPT today would do in a heartbeat, behind it was just a bunch of Excels and Visual Basic, manual code doing the work. So it was really a very manual, and it took some time to actually get things working. But that was the idea that would we would base the rest of our ideas on, which was try a model, see if it works, see if it sticks, then develop the idea, see if you can monetize it. Then give it your best shot, see if you can actually make some money and get some traction. And if after 3 or 4 years you're still there, then great. Otherwise, maybe it's time to look for something else. So our first business was, like I said, mobile phone comparison. And it was too early for its time, I think. So we had a great platform where people would upload their invoices, and we would tell you to switch and save. Barry, you can save $200 a month just by switching from this carrier to this carrier. Customers loved it, but we weren't making money because the infrastructure wasn't out there to build properly or to actually get a cut from the operator. So that lasted 3-4 years, and as we saw that was actually dying, pivoted to another model, which was unlocking phones. Most of these big operators were actually trying to gain customers or steal them from the other operators. And there were a lot of new MVNOs, the mobile network operators, the small virtual operators that were actually being launched into the market. So everybody was fighting for, a mobile phone customer. Back in the days, people were paying on average $200, $300 a month or 200 euros a month of a phone service. And in many cases, once you wanted to switch to a better offer, your phone was locked to the original operator. So there's no way you could get out of that contract. So that's where we stepped in. And unlocking has always been a little bit of a gray area in terms of where do I get my phone unlocked? Do I go down to the corner shop and risk my phone, being left there for a few hours? Will I get it back when I go back for it? So we decided to professionalize the service, basically sell it to all of our customers, corporate customers, which were operators, whether in Europe or in the States or in Latin America. And end customers such as you and I that would actually need to switch operators. That was the second pivot that lasted 5 or 6 years because the market changed drastically and really fast again. So after unlocking and all these operators came out there and the mobile operators started to consolidate, we saw that there was a big scale down in terms of people needing to unlock their phones. Most phones were either unlocked or impossible to unlock. So again, we saw the need to start pivoting one more time. And this was just about at the time, I think, 2019, right about before COVID hit. That was like the last nail in the coffin. People stopped traveling. So that meant people didn't need to unlock their phones to travel abroad and use a local SIM card. So that's where we went to our third pivot, and we decided to close the office, reset everything, send everybody home. We became a fully remote company. And business model that we had actually started a few years back as a backup plan became the primary plan, which was now we were selling top-ups for prepaid customers and gift cards, which basically, if you have a family member in Mexico and you're in Spain and you need to send them some airtime, so basically just go to the site and send them some airtime. And that's basically what we've been doing for the past 5-6 years full time, So again, everything very mobile related in terms of the vertical we're in, but jumping from one to another. And every time we had to do this, obviously it meant not throwing everything away, but really questioning why we needed certain things in the company and how we could actually make it to get some traction and make it sustainable business.
Some people don't like lack of stability. Like, I would say that yours has been quite an exciting journey. Maybe exciting isn't the right word for it. Let's say challenging.
Exciting is good. Yeah.
How do you cope like when things are constantly changing and you're not sure like what the future is going to bring, and it seems you've got to keep changing what you're selling?
I think part of it is probably embedded in our DNA, or maybe in how I started these companies from the beginning. There's always this feeling that if you build it, they will come is not enough. You have to have conviction and a bit of you have to be a bit of insane, I'd say, or a bit naive. Otherwise, you'd never jump in. Because most of the times, at least in my experience with all these different projects that we've launched, if it's not down the main path that you had envisioned, some other door or window will open and it will give you an opportunity. And most of the times, we saw that risk was always much better than taking no risk. So I found stability in actually taking risks. That was part of the way we actually move forward to the next level. So there'd be times where we'd be strapped for cash and there'd be like 6 months left of money in the bank, and we could either start thinking about shutting down and laying everybody off and go maybe work for a big four company consulting, or think of a very creative way to embrace the risk and talk to the employees, the team, make a hard pivot, start something new, see if it paid off. And it didn't always pay off, but most cases the reward was worth it in some way or another. So I'd say that risk is one of the things that actually gave us stability. Not being afraid to take these jumps.
As I was reading through your website and your details that you sent me, it was really interesting to see your philosophy on review sites. Could you just talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, review sites, we are a customer-facing company, so basically B2C, which is commonly known as such. And we rely on basically word of mouth and how people experience our site and how they tell their friends about it, or how they voice their concerns online. Review sites are a necessary evil, I think, at this time. And if you just run a Google search, you see all the different problems that have happened on platforms such as Amazon, where people are, using fake reviews to push their project, etc. My main concern is that they have become a very lucrative business for the actual platform. So I used to tell my friends, if you don't have any good ideas, but you do want to start a company, start a review platform, because it's the best way to captivate clients or force them to actually have to pay you to actually get their foot in the door and start cleaning whatever bad reviews are in there. It's a very perverse and I don't like the model, the way it's handled, because it forces you to become a paying customer of these review platforms. They obviously give you a lot of benefits. You can actually filter reviews. You can actually respond to them. You can actually nurture your profile and promote it. But in some way, they're actually forcing you to pay to get premium things so that you can actually reply to those reviews. And if you don't become a paying member, those 2 or 3 star reviews will get into their system, but none of your 5-star reviews that are organically should get there get into the system. So this is kind of like when you're forced to negotiate with a terrorist. I mean, I know these are strong words, but that's sometimes how we feel. That they put a gun to your head, and it's like, if you want to live with a 2.7-star review, for good, then don't do anything. But if you want to be able to gather, your full range of real reviews so that they actually even out, then you have to pay. So our stance there has been, we decided to work with the 2 major review platforms out there, and nurture, basically get all our customers to actually go there and leave reviews, whether good or bad. And I've always been a strong advocate of actually showing our bad reviews. We do actually have kind of a manifesto on our website where we actually tell our customers, when you go comparison shopping, look at the good reviews, but please look at the bad reviews. And here are our bad reviews. And we have a bunch of 1-star reviews, and we're not proud of them, but they have made us learn. So again, it's important for us to actually make sure that we worked with 1 or 2 of the big guys, and then all these other small review companies that came along and actually asked us to actually pay to be there. We can't kind of have to put limits as to otherwise you end up being the paying for everybody's party where it doesn't apply. Okay,
it's very interesting, and I really enjoy the fact that you're willing to own up and take it as 1-star reviews on the chin, because that's not an easy thing to do. I imagine, like, if it were my company, my gut instinct would be say, right, cleanse those ones, get rid of them. That's what you have to do. Keep the 5 stars. What's your reasoning behind that?
To be honest, I think that at least in this attention gathering era we're in, where attention is limited and attention is money, and clicks and eyeballs are what makes a difference. What we've seen is that if you want to differentiate yourself from the competition, you have to do something different. You can have excellent pricing and good customer service, but you have to go the extra mile when it comes to growing your company. And in some cases, although this is not conventional, it might involve opening up to how you do things internally so that people understand. And that might be, so look, we screw up, and sometimes we screw up big time, and this is what happened. And it has happened with many customers, and we own up, and we own up publicly. We don't try to, sweep it under the rug. And most times, not every time, but most times, the net effect is positive. We've had people complain about, a poor guy in Australia requested, I think, a gift card a few weeks back, and for some reason we couldn't deliver it in time because there was some problem with our provider. He searched around the site. He knew we were based in Spain, and he came up with some not very nice words talking about how he would like us to choke to death eating some jamon serrano and tortillas, and he hopes that we would never wake up from our siestas, basically something like that. We laughed, we turned it around, we got in touch with the customer, everybody had a good laugh. We actually managed to get that customer into a recurring and paying customer, hopefully forever. And instead of trying to bury this and trying to bury the 1-star review, we actually got a change. Most of these clients that actually leave 1-star reviews, we talk to them and we ask them, the first thing we say is, don't change your review, just leave your 1-star if you want. But it'd be great if after you hear what we have to say and we explain what happened, if you want to amend your review and explain that we did talk to you, don't change the 1-star rating, because that's what counts. But if you do want to make an edit, and go ahead and great. If not, then we're here for whenever you need us again.
Maybe pivoting away from some of your failures, let's go to some of your successes. What has been the biggest success for you out of all of your...
Yeah, I'd say success, or maybe satisfaction, because I wouldn't know how to measure success, especially today. Measuring success is, a lot of people, when we're talking about entrepreneurship, measure success based on an exit, sold the company, or reached X milestone, or raised, X million round, etc. My way, at least, of measuring success is obviously try to create products, try to make a good living by doing this, try to provide services that are helpful and that make the whole ecosystem a better place. And if you can do it with a team that follows you and that's right behind you and feels motivated by the work they're doing, and every day, we kind of try to step it up a notch. That for me is what gives me, great pride and makes me very satisfied. Sometimes you'd like to make more money, have more sales, less problems, less issues. Have more of a less hectic, running of a company, because it is hectic running a company. No matter whether you have one employee or 100, it is hectic. But generally, I'd say that the success is being able to, or at least have been able to do this for the past 16, 17 years, even though from the outside it looks like a very linear, growth line. It's actually like, you've seen these memes where it's up and down, up and down, up and down, 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 and then eventually you get up there. So, getting to where we are, knowing that it's not a straight line, and having a great team that has helped us get there.
Okay, and this is the part where I ask you a question and you're going to mention AI, but let's see if you don't mention AI.
Okay.
So what tech trends are currently catching your attention within the industry?
Okay, and I can't say AI, no ChatGPT.
Well, you could say AI. Let's pretend that it wasn't in the question, though.
Oof, that's a good one. It's a very tough question, because that's all everybody's talking about these days. I think one of the big problems that I see, or one of the trends that I see, is everybody knows that everything is going so fast, regardless of whether it's AI or not. Things are going so fast, and the attention economy, or however they call it, is basically taking over the world. Our phones are part of our lives, and they're completely, disrupting most of our relationships. Our kids are suffering with all this. So what I'm seeing is slowly, I see it in school, I see it with my friends, people starting to look at solutions that technology can provide to actually help us cope with this, because it's not going to go away by itself. It's not a trend or a fad. People are becoming concerned about how their relationships with their kids or with their other people are happening. So the trend I've seen, if you could call it a trend, is, at least from a personal perspective, that people are much more concerned and trying to figure out how whatever new things are coming, can help us, handle this growth in terms of technology, and being so stretched from all different areas in terms of our information. And so I really hope to see some changes there, not only from a behavioral point of view, but also from a technology point of view, that people start to take this into account. I hope that fake news becomes something of the past. I see so much polarization online when you go on any social network, and then there's also the fact that 95% of my friends I talk to, they are not inside this hamster thing that we are in. The ones we read Twitter, and we read all these news outlets, and we see that ChatGPT and AI, there I said it, is basically the day to day for us. They're not aware of what's going on. Our minds are blown away every time we open Twitter and we see the new model has come out. They are completely oblivious to this. They just hear it on the news, and then they realize things are coming. But I don't see them as worried as a lot of us who are actually in the day to day. We get worried sometimes. Then another day it's like, well, it's not that bad. Well, maybe we have to take this with a grain of salt. So those are the things that I see around me that are kind of filling up my perspective of trends. But I can't pinpoint anything that's not AI related, because I think that's going to be a big part of what the future is holding for us.
Okay, so since you said that, I'd be remiss of me not to ask about how AI will affect the future. So it seems like a good question you've asked yourself.
Yeah, and again, this is one when I tell my friends, this is one of those questions that you need at least a couple of drinks and a good afternoon of relaxed talk to actually get somewhere. From what I'm seeing, I have more of a positive than negative overview on what AI can bring. I mean, there's a lot of doomsaying out there, and I do think that we do need to take it seriously, but I do think that it has to come in with, it has to be let loose a bit. There's a lot of regulation in Europe. This is what we're seeing. The US and other places are definitely embracing it with a different mindset than we are here in Europe. This is one of my main concerns. And this is something that if you lose the train at this early stage, it's going to be really hard to catch up in the future. So that's from a regulatory perspective that worries me. From how it will change our lives in the future, I have no idea, but I'm already seeing it in our day-to-day. ChatGPT, just to mention one of the tools out there. When it first came out, I had a couple of members of my team come to me gravely concerned, but from two different perspectives. One of them was worried that he was going to lose his job because now what he used to do in half an hour using ChatGPT, in a week using ChatGPT could be done in half an hour. He's a copywriter and he's like, my job is obsolete. And the other one said, what I could do before in a week, I can do in half an hour now. So give me more, I could be so much more productive. So your mindset has a lot to do here in terms of how you, take into account these big changes. So it's going to take a while. The technology is going to go much faster than we as humans, I think, can adapt to the new whatever it is. But again, my take is more of a positive one than negative. And I'll probably look at this interview in a year and say, oh my God, I had no idea that this was going to happen. And maybe Terminator 5 is here and things have changed, but hopefully not.
Well, what a way to end the session on Terminator 5. So unfortunately, we have stuck for time, so we've come to the end of the interview, but it's been a pleasure speaking with you. And thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you so much, Barry. It was a pleasure to be here.
That was Hugo Meana, who is CEO, co-founder of doctorSIM.